What's up, everybody? Today's video is brought to you by the 7 P's of productivity. Prudent, proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. So today, we're putting the battery in, and we're moving the vehicle. In this video, I wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of prudent planning. The problem is we all run into bad performance. You know, we spend a bunch of time thinking about what we want to do and how we're going to do it. And we do that when it's time to act. Which means if we're not planning ahead, then we're not being prudent. And by missing that opportunity, we're going to run into all kinds of problems. Beautiful day for a ride? Oh. Give the bike a little bit of space so don't hit the bike. Ooh, okay. Whew. I should have picked a cooler day to do this. And by that I mean, I should have done this months ago. Proper prudent planning. I know that each of you has a list of things to do. And you can see my chicken scratch notes. So we all have a list of things to do. And the problem is that we're often debating on what we're going to do when. And we don't think about the when part until the time comes. And then we're just there having to do it. So this video is to help you. I'm going to break down, basically, I want to break down 3 ways for you to figure out what you can do next. And the last one, well, a bonus tip, is actually going to be a secret ingredient that ties everything together. Because you see, without the secret ingredient, you're just kind of guessing. Oh, this is heavy. So like I was saying, without the secret ingredient, you're basically guessing. And that'll make more sense in a second. Bear with me. Whew. That was more difficult than it needed to be. Apologies. So, the first thing I want to talk to you about is a little story I call the MIT frog named Mel. Whoa, easy there, tiger. Now, you've probably heard the saying that if your job is to eat a frog, you should eat it first thing in the morning. And if your job is to eat 2 frogs, you should eat the big frog first. We can thank Mark Twain for that wonderful mental imagery. And the point of that is to find the task that is the big frog and do it in the morning, probably because you have energy in the morning. So the story about the MIT frog, Mel. Here's why I call it that. So obviously the Mark Twain frog thing, right? You know that. However, one that you might not know, how to identify your most important task. Ow. That's what the MIT stands for. Most important task. Okay. Now, the thing about the MIT most important task is that you have a lot of lists. You have a long list of things that need to be done. So the trick is, how do you identify which one is the most important? And the way that this exercise goes is you're supposed to get yourself a journal. Write down every task that you have to do and every task that you want to do. And once you've written that list, then you need to identify what is, oh, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see if the car starts first. Then we'll anchor the battery down. So, I'm just gonna set you up here kind of loosely. Forgive me if that rattles a little bit. So, you take everything that you've got and you write it down on a piece of paper. And then your goal is to identify the one thing that would have the biggest impact on everything. If there's something on your list that would take out multiple items, then that's what you should be focusing on. Fingers crossed. She lives. The most important task. Write down a list of things that you have to do and things that you want to do. Identify the one task on that list that is the most important task. Circle it. If you don't know what it is, start chipping away at things. You probably do know though. The next step, once you've circled it, is to break that task down. Look at every element of it. And I really like Hormozy's approach when he's talking about like, you can train anybody, any skill, because it's just a matter of chunking it down small enough so that it's easily digestible. If something's not easily digestible, it's because there's too much that you're looking at and it feels overwhelming. This is the mountain problem, right? Of like, you have a million hurdles to jump over and it feels like a mountain. Well, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Thank you. Shout out to Lao Tzu for that one. This is the same principle. So you're going to take that task, and it doesn't matter how big it is. We're not asking you for what's comfortable here. We're asking you for what needs to get done and what's going to have the impact. That's why it's called the most important task. And then you're going to chunk it down. Start writing out step by step. And if you feel like, oh, this is too daunting, to write literally every step, start breaking it down into manageable chunks. For instance, I'm working on my car here, right? I can just say fix car, or I can say, put battery in car, turn car on, make sure car run. And then I can break that down farther. Like Alex Hormozy's example was if you've never used a computer before and you're trying to teach someone computer skills, you can literally start with, make sure it's plugged in, hit the power button, enter password or whatever. Like, you can chunk these things down, and your goal is to fill that page with as much little tiny steps as possible. And the reason that we do this is because then it makes those huge mountains into just a lot of little tiny tasks. This is like one aspect of coaching, is setting goals and holding accountability and figuring out what your next steps are. And you're basically doing that for yourself right here. So you're just going to coach yourself through it, and you just need to hold yourself accountable to all of the little elements of the task. But then you just start going off the list one at a time, crossing through it. And now the last piece of this puzzle was Mel. Why is the frog named Mel? The frog's name isn't Mel. The MIT frog, Mel. Mel stands for Mel Robbins, or Mel Robinson. Jesus, I'm gonna Google it. Hold your horses. Mel Robbins. Okay, yeah. Mel stands for Mel Robbins. I was listening to a podcast with Mel Robbins, and she was talking about, like, when you have a list of things to do and you're beat, you're exhausted, then make the list of all the things to do, find one thing on that list and circle that list, and tell yourself, that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then give yourself the day off. Because today is the day for planning. Tomorrow is the day for action. And I know what you're saying out there. I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, Justin, you're just helping me procrastinate. You're not helping me solve problems. Like, I need action. Yes, you do need action. But like I said, this video is brought to you by the 7 Ps. Proper, prudent planning. Prudent planning. There's a little saying, right? When the time to act has come, the time to prepare has passed. The reason you're having piss poor performance is because you're not doing your proper, prudent planning. And then you find yourself in the moment trying to plan and act at the same time. And that's why you're struggling. Because the day comes for you to act. You're like, oh, it's my weekend. Now I need to take care of all these chores. Or, hey, I'm at work, but now I've got all of these other XYZ things that have come up and I need to do those now. And so you didn't plan ahead. And now you're having to fight that. And it's like, I get it. The point here is this is prudent planning. So we're planning for the future. You can do this exercise at your bedtime. Half an hour before you go to bed, sit down with a pen and paper and write this stuff out. Do it before you go to bed, and then you can plan your day ahead. Or like Layla Hormozy says, dude, plan your week on Sunday or whenever your Sunday is. My Sunday's on a Thursday. That's today. So plan your week ahead. And that way, when the week gets here, you don't have to think about it. That's what we're doing here. This is proper, prudent planning to prevent the piss poor performance. I've jumbled all of this together into one thing because I think for the most important task, it needs to be the big frog. It needs to be the most obnoxious frog. But we also need to plan ahead to do it. That way you're not trying to like figure this out step by step, one at a time, on the fly. You know, that'd be like deciding to make dinner before you even checked that you had all the ingredients. I probably shouldn't put that in the video because my wife accidentally did that because she really wanted tacos and we didn't have cheese. And so the poor lady had to like run to the store, get the taco stuff, come home, start making food, and then run back to the store and get cheese. And then I couldn't help because I was in a coaching appointment. Anyway, I have an amazing wife. She's wonderful. I love her to death. So that's the MIT Frog Mel. We're gonna plan ahead, write out our list, find our most important task, plan to do it the next day, and plan to do it early when you have the energy for it. All right, moving on to number 2. Okay, number 2 is gonna be the Eisenhower matrix. Now, if you're not familiar with this, no worries, I'm gonna walk you through it. It's really simple. This is another way of figuring out what is important and what you need to do, right? The Eisenhower matrix has 4 key elements. There's important, there's urgent, not important, and not urgent. And we're basically just putting these on a grid to figure out what goes where and what we need to work on. So let me show you. So up top, we have what's important, we have what's urgent, what's not urgent, and what's not important. Now, typically, you will divide the box into 4 quadrants, and the top left becomes our important and urgent section. This, we want to get rid of all of this stuff as fast as possible because it's urgent and it's important. So we really kind of need to do this. The next box over is important and not urgent. This is actually where we want to live. We want to live our lives here. When we live here, you experience the stress of urgency. That's what's going to burn you out, is stress. So we want to avoid stress. We want to avoid urgent. So this stuff needs to get done and just checked off the list and removed. And this is where we want to operate in most of our like day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month kind of stuff. Now, we get into these other realms, urgent and not important. And then we have not important and not urgent. They say for not important and not urgent, just get rid of that. They say just get rid of that whole column. For things like this, they're like, dude, delegate it. If it's not important, just delegate it, have someone else do it. But I'm gonna be real, I don't have a freaking person to help me. Like, my wife is amazing, she helps me, but she's not my assistant. So until the day that I get an assistant, I ain't delegating shit. So to be real, for all of you people out there, set up this Eisenhower matrix. Everything on the lower half of this matrix, fucking axe it. You don't need it. Literally chop it off. Just get rid of it. If it's not important in any sense of the word, it's not important. And therefore, it doesn't need to be on your list. The only thing I would make an exception for is things that are technically not important, but they're good for your morale. And then I would argue that they are important because your mental health is the most important thing. If your work is killing you because of stress, fuck your work. You need to find something else. Like, the whole point of this is to be a healthy person. We need to be helping others, and we can't help others when we can't help ourselves, right? So first things first, take care of you, make sure that you're in good standing, take care of your mental health. And that means focusing on things like this, that maybe it's important to you because it helps you. It helps you cope with reality and stress, and it helps you unwind or whatever. If it helps you in any way, I classify that as important. So don't put those out there, right? Doing work is not always doing things that are hard and stressful. Remember that rest is work. That's part of the work. Don't forget to take breaks. So the third technique, this one, I picked this one up from motorcycle riding and it evolved into some of my coaching. The third technique I like to call the motorcycle filtering technique. In certain states, it is legal, if you're on a motorcycle, to filter your way up to the front of traffic. So if you pull up to a stop sign or a stoplight and there's a whole bunch of cars and everybody's stacked together, you can filter to the front. When you have a lot of motorcycles and each car needs to give that motorcycle basically a car's width worth of space plus, it causes more traffic jams to occur from block to block than is necessary. Motorcycles are fast, they can get off the line quick, and so at low speeds and safely, traveling between cars to filter to the front of the line to get out of the way is a good way to remove some of the bulk. The purpose of it is to get some of the small tasks off your list quickly. So you might experience a handful of small problems, I'm losing my words here. You might experience a small handful of tasks that, or maybe you have a lot of tasks that are just building up and you have some big tasks, but these little tasks are kind of in the way. They're stopping your big tasks from getting through. So the trick here is get some of the low-hanging fruit. Tackle some of the problems that don't really need to be problems lingering around. There's a lot of things on your list that it would only take you 5 minutes to do them. If that's the case, kind of like with the most important task thing of like writing everything down on paper, write those things down. Take stock of what a lot of your little tiny tasks are, and then spend an hour, maybe, if that, a half an hour, and knock them out. Get rid of them. Take them out of the equation. That way you can focus on what matters more, the bigger problems, right? Let the motorcycles filter. That way you can drive the bigger tasks faster. Next up is the secret ingredients. And this one's important because without it, all of this, it's like we're swinging at something in the dark, and yes, we will hit things occasionally, and yes, we will do pretty well, but without understanding the secret ingredient, it's going to be an uphill battle. So let's get home. Let's cool off. I guess I'm going to get home. I'm going to cool off. I'll see you when I get there. Okay, so the last piece to this puzzle, the secret ingredient, or the dragon scroll, if you will. What's missing is you understanding your own personal energy management. When do you work best? What drains you? And what recharges you? See, you want to get to the place where you're Po. You're the Kung Fu Panda. But right now, you're Tai Lung. You're trying to read the dragon scroll to gain more power. You've got all the hacks in the world on productivity and time management, and they don't seem to be working. Sometimes they're impactful and sometimes they're not. So you're here trying to read the dragon scroll, but you don't get it. So here's what you need to know to make all of this work and properly come together. Number one, you need to understand your golden hours. When do you work best? Are you an early morning kind of person? Are you a few hours after you wake up? Or are you the late afternoon person who works best from 9 p.m. to 2 in the morning? The second part is understanding what tasks drain you. What are the tasks that you just actually dread? Even when you have energy to expend, what are the ones that are like pulling you down and making you feel like you don't want to do this work and you just feel exhausted? Even if it's something simple, like answering emails. Personally for me, I hate emails. And the third element to this is understanding the tasks that recharge you. And this can range from things like taking a break, sitting on the floor, meditating, doing some yoga, or even something like doing the dishes, cleaning the house. Or if you're at work, maybe for you, answering emails is kind of relaxing. Maybe that's like a second break for you. So what you're not doing is you're not working with your body's natural systems and understanding when to use your energy. So here's the thing. The golden hours, the hours that you work best, those are the times that you should be tackling the most important tasks. Those are the hours to tackle the biggest challenges and the things that drain you the most. And then when your energy is depleted, you need to be focusing on tasks that recharge you. This could be a small task that perhaps doesn't take a whole lot of energy, either physical or maybe mental, and allowing that aspect to recharge. Let's say you're someone who works from home and you're on the computer all day and you're expending a lot of mental energy. Then maybe what you need most when you're drained is actually something physical to do that you don't have to think about. So understanding how you react in different situations and what happens to your energy levels is key. When you have energy, do the heavy tasks. For your golden hours, this is eating the frog. And then when you're drained, do the things that recharge you. Take a break or start knocking out some of those low-hanging fruit. Get those little things out of the way and get them off your list if it's something that can recharge you while you do it. Learning how to balance these two things is what's going to help you stay focused and stay on your game. Lastly, I want to add one extra thing to this, and that's accountability. If you're avoiding the work because it's unpleasant, that's something else entirely. That has nothing to do with your energy management. That's just you not holding yourself accountable to do the work that you need to do. And this is something that I get to do as a coach a lot, is holding people accountable. Having some way to hold yourself accountable to actually do the work is really important. Either being able to hold yourself accountable or having somebody help hold you accountable can make the difference. For a quick recap, 3 ways to help you identify what to do next. First one is the MIT frog Mel. Find the most important task. Do this by writing out a list of all the things that you want to accomplish. Find the one that's got the biggest impact. Circle that and plan ahead for when you're going to do it. Second, we're going to utilize the Eisenhower matrix. Understand what's important and urgent versus important and not urgent. Forget the rest. We're going to be focusing on first getting rid of all the urgent stuff, and then we want you operating from a space where you're focusing on the important work without the stress of the urgency. And number 3, the quick wins. Finding the little things that can filter to the top of the list so that you can sweep a bunch of them out of the way quickly and efficiently, giving you more time to focus on the important and or urgent things. And then the secret ingredient is your own energy management system to help you avoid burnout. You want to identify when in the day you work best, what tasks drain you, and what tasks recharge you. When you've got the most energy, that's your frog time. That's the time to run. That's the time to do the hardest work. As you lose energy, find the tasks that recharge you. And that final piece, holding yourself accountable. If you can't hold yourself accountable, try and bring someone in as support to help hold you accountable. And that can be as simple as just a check-in. Check in with me at this time. Ask me if I've done the work. Because one of the biggest things I realize is that a lot of my coaching clients, you can always tell there's this like awkward moment when I'm checking in with a coaching client and I ask them, so that thing that you wanted to do, that thing that was really important and high on your list, how did you do? How were your 2 weeks? And they say, oh, well, and they start looking around the room like, please help me escape, but they can't. You're locked in and they have to tell you, I didn't do it. And I can always tell that that makes them a little uncomfortable. But what's amazing about that is that it gives them more motivation to do it next time because they're like, no, you're right. I need to get it done. I'm just being silly. And that's it. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching this whole video. I really do hope that some of this was able to help you. And now that I'm thinking about it, why is it the 7 P's of productivity? That seems a little excessive. I have to include a whole extra hand only to use 2/5 of it. Let's just make it the 5 P's of productivity. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Okay, thanks, bye.